What's up, guys? Swift here covering everything Chicago Bears related. And today I wanted to head into the film room and check out our offensive line and how they performed week one against the Titans. I've spent hours in the film room checking out how every single player on our offensive line performed. And today I'm going to go in depth and talk about how each player performed on Sunday, how they graded out, what they look like on tape, and what you need to know. Let's go ahead and get right into it. First off, I want to talk about Braxton Jones, who graded out with a 75.9 pass blocking grade, but only a 59.8 as a run blocker, coming in at a 62.8 overall. He played all 55 snaps and gave up 2 pressures, had 1 sack and 1 penalty. I thought Braxton Jones had a really good game. If you take out his false start and the 1 sack he gave up, he flashed a ton of potential. He looked a lot better than he did last year, especially when it comes to his anchor. On multiple occasions, Titans pass rushers would try to bull rush Braxton and not have much success. Braxton clearly doesn't have as strong of an anchor as Darnell Wright does, but he has improved dramatically since his rookie season. He was also learning from Darnell Wright, and his technique and his hand usage looks much improved from last season. Here is a rep where Braxton was able to snatch the defender's arms, use his momentum to drive him to the ground. This is an impressive work by Braxton Jones. I love his development heading into year 3, and I still believe he can be a top 10 tackle in this league. Keep it up, Braxton. He had a great game. Next up is Darnell Wright, who came in as our highest graded pass blocker with an 83.3 grade. He didn't fare as well against the run, whiffing on some block and grading out at a 61.4. But Darnell Wright was the player I was most impressed with on Sunday. I thought he was awesome as a pass blocker, shutting down everyone he went against and really showing his improvements heading into year 2. His run grade wasn't quite as high, but not because of lack of effort. I thought Darnell was actually just moving a bit too fast on some run blocks and ended up whiffing a few times. He missed a couple blocks completely in the run game, but it wasn't really a big deal. He's a guy who's going to play more under control going forward, and once he starts hitting those blocks in the run game, look out. Darnell looked like a monster when he's on the move, and he showcased Pro Bowl potential as a pass blocker. I couldn't be happier with what I saw from last year's first-round pick. I'm hoping that Darnell can continue to develop. Overall, I thought our tackles played awesome in week 1, and it's possible that Ryan Poles has already found his bookend tackles for Caleb Williams going forward. Both players look like NFL tackles in week 1, and they offer a ton of potential going forward, and we also still have Karan Amagaji as well. But now let's get into the interior of this offensive line, where Tevin Jenkins was the lone bright spot, but even Tevin didn't grade out very well. He had just a 48.7 pass blocking grade, but did come through with a 72.8 as a run blocker. I thought Tev played better than that against the pass, but he did get beat a couple of times by T'Vondre Sweat. However, Tev was dominant as a run blocker, driving guys downfield, taking out players on the second level, and getting in a big-time pancake. Tev is still a tone setter for this offensive line, and even though week 1 wasn't his best game, he still profiles as one of the best guards in football when he's healthy. I'm not worried about Big Tev. But now let's talk about the center position. Coleman Shelton took a beating on social media, but he graded out pretty similarly to Tevin Jenkins. Very well against the run, but both guys struggled against the pass in week 1. This is kind of a testament to the Titans' strength on the interior of that defensive line. Tev would allow 1 pressure and got beat by T'Vondre Sweat a couple of times, and Shelton allowed 2 pressures, 1 sack, and had a penalty. But Coleman also played very well in the run game, and other than a couple of mental lapses in pass protection, I thought Shelton actually did a good job after reviewing the tape. I wanted to show 2 plays from Coleman Shelton. The first one here is the one that got Shelton the most criticism. At first glance, it appears as if Shelton got ragdolled, and it reminded a lot of us fans of Sam Mustipher, and it was not fun to see. However, after studying the tape, this one was not on Coleman Shelton. He did not get ragdolled. Instead, he was accidentally tripped by teammate Tevin Jenkins. which led to it looking like he got pancaked, but this was just an unfortunate play. This trip would lead to Caleb getting a ball deflective that could have been a TD pass, so this is something that needs to get ironed out going forward, but Coleman was not awful on this rep. The next rep I want to show, though, this is the one where Coleman Shelton gave up a sack. As you can see, the Titans performed a stunt on the defensive line, and Coleman Shelton lost his responsibility, did not see the defensive end coming in on a stunt, and gave a free rush lane to go get Caleb Williams. That play was unacceptable. Coleman Shelton, you got to do better than that. But speaking of guys who did get pancaked, let's talk about our guard position as Ryan Bates took over for Nate Davis in the second half and ended up getting a lot more reps than Nate did. I thought Ryan Bates played okay. He wasn't great, but he wasn't bad either. But he did have one play where he got pancaked. Jeffrey Simmons bull rushed him right onto his back, but a heads-up play by Coleman Shelton where he cleaned it up and knocked Simmons to the ground. Great job by Coleman Shelton here. Ryan Bates would play 38 snaps overall. He didn't allow a pressure or have a penalty. He graded out with a 65.7 pass block grade, a 56.0 in the run blocking department. Nate Davis would grade out better, but I did not quite agree with PFF on Nate Davis's grade. I saw Nate miss multiple blocks and look lazy on a few reps. I think that is probably one of the biggest reasons why Ryan Bates subbed in for him, and I do think Nate Davis's starting job is in jeopardy. I want to show two plays that kind of show what we're dealing with when it comes to Nate Davis. The first play was very early in the game. Nate just gets beat badly to the inside, and he gives up on the play. If the defensive tackle doesn't trip himself up, he has a free run at Caleb Williams. And then 2 plays later, this was a designed screen pass to DeAndre Swift, so I get it. Nate has to get to the second level here for the screen. But usually you start out by selling a block, maybe chipping with your teammate or helping him out a little bit. And Coleman Shelton is clearly in need of some help here, getting beat to the inside, and Nate Davis is right there, in perfect position to chip or even bump this guy to slow down the pass rush. Instead, Nate walks by casually, almost looking like he's helping the defender get by, and then he stands there doing nothing because the screen got blown up by the guy he didn't block. Now, without knowing the blocking assignments, it's impossible to know what the coaches wanted Nate to do here, and it was Coleman Shelton that got beat. However, I think Nate could have easily saved this play, but instead he chose to do nothing. After those reps, he wasn't on the field much longer. So after week 1, I am a little worried about this offensive line. But after studying the film, I'm less worried than I was on Sunday after the game ended. I think Coleman Shelton played better than we gave him credit for, and him getting tripped by Tevin Jenkins was unfortunate. Our offensive tackles played really well and give me a lot of optimism going forward, but I am worried about the interior of this offensive line. Tevin Jenkins needs to stay healthy, and he needs to iron out his mistakes in pass protection. And then Coleman Shelton has to be better, and we need to figure out what is going on at right guard. It appears that the rotation will continue for at least one more week, but I think we need to settle that position and get some continuity going forward. Darnell Wright was the player of the week on the offensive line for me. He was awesome in pass protection, but he did whiff on some run blocks. But his athleticism and power were so impressive. If he connects on more blocks in the run game, Darnell could be playing at a Pro Bowl level sooner than I anticipated. He's a guy with so much potential. How do you guys feel after 1 week? Are you less concerned with Coleman Shelton after watching this video? What are your thoughts on the Ryan Bates and Nate Davis situation? And how pleased are you with our offensive tackles, Braxton Jones and Darnell Wright? Let me know in the comments. Remember to hit the like button for me. I spent a ton of time watching the film on this one. Head over to the Patreon community if you want more All 22 footage. Stay tuned, and until next time, bear down.